My name is Tom,
I'm Charlene Cuellar.
My name is Paulo.
and for this project we created a circuit for the Hindmarsh-Rose neuron model. Okay, so this is our Hindmarsh-Rose circuit, and in this circuit we are using 4 LT1630 op-amps, and each of these op-amps contain 2 op-amps each. So on our circuit we have 8 op-amps altogether, but we are only using 7. And then we have 2 80-633 multipliers. Okay, so starting from the top, the first op-amp gives us negative x and x. The second op-amp gives us negative y and y. The third gives us negative z and z. Then, from the first multiplier, we get negative xx from the output, and from the second multiplier, we get negative xxx from its output. And the final op-amp gives us an XX.
Okay, so this is the schematic for our Hindmarsh-Rose circuit, and this portion right here is going to give us the X output of our circuit. This right here is going to give us the Y output, and here is the Z of our circuit. Right, now let's take a look at our X output with the 1 volt input. And this is our waveform for the 1 volt input. And here on our oscilloscope, we have our 1 volt input that looks exactly like our schematic. Right, here is our simulated X output with the 2 volt input. And as on our function generator, we'll switch the 1 input to 2 volts peak to peak. And then on our oscilloscope, you will see our outputted waveform. So here's our output for X with a 4 volt input, and on our function generator we switch from 2 volts peak to 4 volts, and as you can see on our function generator or on our oscilloscope that our waves look like our schematic.
We have our simulated Y output with an input of 1 volt. If you see on our function generator, you can see that is 1 volt peak to peak, and if you look at the oscilloscope, you can see that the outputs match. Again, we have our simulated Y output, at this time with a 2 volt input, and after we switch our function generator to 2 volts peak to peak, we notice that at the oscilloscope, the outputs are similar. Here we have our output for Y with an input of 4 volts, and after we switch it to 4 volts peak to peak, we notice that there is a similar output in the oscilloscope.
Okay, so here's our LT Spice simulation output for Z with a 1 volt peak to peak output. And so on our function generator, we have a 1 volt peak to peak. And looking at the oscilloscope, we can see our output from our circuit. And as we can see, they are fairly similar with small differences at the beginning of the impulse. So here is our simulated Z output with an input of 2 volts. So going over to the function generator, we put in a 2 volt peak to peaks, and then as you can see in the oscilloscope coming from our circuit, we have an output that is similar to our schematic. Okay, so this is our simulated Z output with a 4 volt input. So as you can see on the function generator, we put in a 4 volt peak to peak voltage, and as you can see on our oscilloscope, that is our output from our circuit, and you can see that they are both similar.